Hi, my name is Wayne Gassman. I run a video production company in Kansas City, Missouri. I am not a reviewer by any stretch. I'll state that right away. As for Rigid.Pro, who I am talking about in this video, I wasn't paid by them. They kind of asked me to make a nice review because people are thinking that it's not a real product when I can assure you it's a very real product. The story of why I found them was I have a couple of FX3s, one that lives on a gimbal, one that kind of pseudo is like a stick slash shoulder rig, and I have an FX6. Didn't want to fork out money for another FX6, but I really wanted to rig out my FX3 for like wireless transmitters and other kind of things like that that some of my productions involve. The one thing that I noticed with all the Cinebacks that were coming out is that none of them included the top XLR handle. And I know the FX3 doesn't have like the best XLR handle. It's a little janky at times, but I still was wanting to keep it included, as when you're doing anything that is like run and gun or documentary style, you're still wanting like that shotgun on top or one or two lavs that you can just kind of throw on a person for like a quick and dirty interview. I wanted to maintain that with my FX3, and Rigid.Pro came out with their version of with the XLR handle. I immediately went and purchased it. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I'm looking for, and I wanted to at least give it a shot. And so that's what we have here. The product itself is really hardy. I actually really like what they're 3D printing it with. It's supposedly some kind of carbon fiber polymer. I have brothers that do 3D printing stuff, so I'm always super interested in what just the feeling of the 3D print is. And theirs definitely has like a really rigid feel to it. It doesn't flex at all. The FX3, its handle being kind of flimsy and everybody's always worried about it, this actually helped a ton. So it's got a nice bolt that goes nice and deep, and then it goes right into the actual handle. So you've actually got another point of rigidity on the back, so the handle's not going to flex on you at all. One of the things I did talk to one of the guys at Rigid.Pro about is that the blue lights are a little bright, which because that could interfere with some shot. Ours was in the dark, and we kind of had a splash of colors everywhere, so it didn't really matter, but I could see that kind of at least putting a hue on someone's face because it is very bright. The one thing I hate is the cage that they make you use. 8-Sin, once I got the Rigid.Pro, I was a little disappointed because I didn't read the fine text enough that you have to get this 8-Sin cage to go with it. I actually reached out to Rigid, and I'm like, okay, so why did you choose the 8-Sin cage? Why? Like, that just seems like the most obscure cage to use out of everything. And they wrote a nice email back saying, listen, this is like, we tried to talk to 8-Sin. They didn't want to play ball helping them out either. But we just thought it was a really good cage for what their XLR handle one was. They offered me like to go to the one without the XLR handle cage, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'll just give it a shot because I really wanted to keep that XLR on there, and I'm glad I did. There is quite a bit of growing pains. The 8-Sin cage, a lot of the accessories that they will sell you to work with the FX3 don't. I run PL mount DZO lenses for some of my projects, and the little the rail mount for the front, there's like they got like 4 little screws on the front there, and it wouldn't clear any of my PL mounts. In fact, it won't even clear my Sony Mark II lens. So I had to figure out another way that I could mount rails on this side of the camera, because when I'm operating, I don't like the motor, my first AC back there pulling focus for me, and I'm seeing the motor move while I'm trying to hold the shot. I hate not having like any kind of protection for like where the HDMI and all that is, and so I opted for like I had to get the 8-Sin clamp for it, but then I used a small HDMI extension with a couple of 1/4-20s, and that way I can just have a quick and dirty like connection. So in case I'm really running with it, I don't clip it into something and break it. And then I went and splurged a little bit, and I went and got a Condor Blue handle for it with a rosette, and I just used a CamVat like 1/4-20s to a rosette to just kind of have something to like have an extra bit of grip on it whenever you're operating. There's plenty of ports on here that it's able to power the monitor, the focus motor, also the camera. So I also did a Condor Blue DTAP to USB-C on this side. And so I opted for this over the dummy battery. Just in review, like, it's a really cool product. They fit a niche that I needed. You'll probably see more updates from me about me just using it out in the wild. It's a really cool thing. Unfortunately, I do a lot more support work than I shoot. So this was kind of like just kind of a me project. I really like rigging things, and I always like a challenge, and this was no exception. The 8-sin cage definitely was a challenge to get it to do what I needed to do, which it's fine. It did what it needed to do, but it definitely takes a little bit of R&D and playing with it and working with it to get exactly what you needed, at least what I was looking for. If you just wanted just a Cineback just so you could do, put a battery on it and just go run all day with it, this is great. It works perfectly for that. Me, I like little creature comforts, being able to maneuver it, kind of having it set up the way I like it, things not hanging where I don't want to see them while I'm in the middle of shooting. So it took me a little more R&D to kind of get this all polished up. And this is even a different iteration than when I shot the hitters film that we did, which Rigid.Pro has some photos up of behind the scenes of that when I was operating. Wrapping up, great product. Is it perfect? No. Is it great? Yes. It is fit a lot of the things that I needed it to do. I really appreciate how responsive Rigid has been with everything. But overall, great product. I'm going to be using it, and I'll see you on the next set.